I do think it's sometimes easy to overlook how profound the demographic change is that's going on in the U.S. I mean, for 300 years, we were essentially a 90% white, 10% African American country, and we are in the space of a generation or two moving from that basic construct to a majority-minority country. That's a profound and rapid transformation. I mean, that any civil society would have a struggle with managing that level of change in this short period of time. I'm Simon Rosenberg. I run a small think tank called NDN and the New Policy Institute. I've been part of the immigration team working on this issue since McCain and Kennedy introduced the framework for what we call comprehensive immigration reform back in the summer of 2005. The history of the Republican Party on this issue is very different from other issues like taxes and more contentious issues that are being fought out in Washington. There's been long Republican leadership on immigration reform. Ronald Reagan, George Bush, John McCain. There's many Republican names that you can associate with immigration reform as you could Democratic names over the last 30 years. And so it means that this is not a new behavior. This is not a bridge too far. This is something that's been part and parcel of the Republican Party. I mean, one of the analyses that I've done is that I think I'm forgetting the numbers now, but of the last 12 Republican nominees, 10 of them have come from states with heavily Hispanic populations, states like California and Arizona and Texas. And so the Republican Party, the modern Republican Party, really grew up in the Sun Belt and is actually very comfortable and very familiar in many ways with many of the issues that we're discussing today. Let's just be honest, right? Our Republican voters and the Republican Party, how do they feel about the demographic transformation we've been talking about today? They're ambivalent about it, right? This is not necessarily a selling point, nor is it necessarily a compelling argument inside the Republican Party. The bill itself and the fact that it takes $1 trillion in a year, we're not going to have any more deficit reduction, $1 trillion of deficit reduction over 20 years, 5% GDP growth, building a better immigration system, fixing and improving the interior enforcement, resolving some of the issues on the border. There is a lot to sell here. I mean, and so I don't think we have to go. I think it's already there. I think that the compromise that's been made is something that can sell. We can sell this to Republicans. How do they get to a place on legalization of citizenship that we're also comfortable with? I think we're much closer to resolving that than people understand. They're going to need to be able to say that there's some version of no special path, and that we have not basically rewarded 11 million people for bad behavior. I think unless we get to a place where they can say that, I think it's going to be hard to get the rest of it. But I think it's there. There is a lot of the economic piece of this. We got to lean in really hard. And I think in addition to the pop culture argument, there's a lot here that we've got to do a better job at selling what's actually in the bill and how it's going to leave us with a better immigration system than we had before. I want to see White House, Senate talks start right away. It's going to take a few months of this. This isn't. I think the White House, frankly, has not been engaged enough with the House to get us to the point where we need to go. It's going to take months of conversations and back and forth, and that has to start now. And I think this group also, in addition to putting pressure on all the other people we put pressure on, we got to put pressure on the White House to lead a little bit more on this. And because this isn't going to happen with Barack Obama. This is not going to happen unless Barack Obama is sitting at the table with John Boehner and some deal getting cut. And so let's get on with that and start with that right away.